Imagine one person, just one, inspiring the planting of millions upon millions of trees in a single country. 30 million, actually. Oh, sounds impossible, right?
It does, doesn't it? But it's true. And that's exactly what we're digging into today on this deep dive. We'll be looking at Mama Miti, Wangari Maathai, and the Trees of Kenya. The book is by Donna Jo Napoli, and the amazing illustrations are by Kadir Nelson.
This book tells the story of Wangari Maathai, also known as Mama Miti, which means Mother of Trees. And, she actually won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 2004. She was the first African woman to ever receive that honor, all for her incredible work in environmental conservation.
Such a huge accomplishment, and it really speaks to the impact she had. And that's what we want to uncover today, right? How did Wangari Maathai's idea, which sounds so simple, end up transforming a whole country? And why is her story still so inspiring all these years later?
Right. So let's start at the beginning with Wangari Maathai herself. Can you tell us who she was and what made her so passionate about this?
Well, Wangari Maathai grew up in Kenya. And even as a little girl, she absolutely loved nature, trees especially. The book does a wonderful job of showing this, her deep connection to nature. But as she got older, she started to see something really worrying happening. Deforestation. The forests in Kenya were disappearing, and it was having a pretty bad effect on the people who lived there.
Yeah, I imagine that would be devastating, not just for the environment, but for the people who depend on it.
Exactly. The sources we looked at showed that all this deforestation led to some serious problems. The soil started eroding, which meant the good topsoil that farmers needed was being washed away. And that, of course, meant less food. People were struggling to get enough to eat. And then there was a problem of firewood. People needed wood to cook their food, but it was getting harder and harder to find. Even clean water was becoming scarce.
Wow, so deforestation really had a ripple effect across everything. It wasn't just about the trees themselves.
Exactly. But Wangari Maathai, she saw all this happening, and she didn't just give up. She came up with an idea, a really simple idea, but really powerful too.
So what was her idea?
She decided to encourage people to plant trees, especially the women in her community. She understood that even something as basic as planting a tree could help solve so many of the problems they were facing, and she knew it would help to heal the land.
It makes sense that her childhood, surrounded by those trees and that natural beauty, would influence her thinking.
Oh, absolutely. The sources definitely suggest that her childhood love of nature played a huge part in her determination to restore the environment. It wasn't just something she knew in her head, it was something she felt deep down.
Now, the book also talks about the role of the women of Kenya in this whole movement. How did they get so involved?
That's a really important part of the story. It really shows how crucial it is to listen to the needs of a community. The women were on the front lines, right? They were seeing firsthand how these environmental issues were affecting their daily lives, their families. They knew they needed solutions, so they went straight to Wangari, asking for her help.
So they were the ones who reached out to her initially.
Yeah, they were the voice of the community expressing those urgent needs. And what's so important is that Wangari didn't just offer them some abstract solution. She listened to their problems and then gave them a practical, empowering answer. Plant trees.
And I'm guessing it wasn't just about planting any tree, right? Different trees must have had different benefits for them.
You got it. Wangari knew a lot about trees, and she understood what each type could offer. Some trees were perfect for firewood, which they desperately needed. Others grew fruit, which could help them with their diets and nutrition. And some trees could even help to purify their water sources. It was all very practical and tailored to their specific needs.
That's so smart, really addressing the issues head on.
Wow.
And the book really emphasizes how hard the women worked, right? It wasn't just Wangari's efforts, but a true community movement.
Absolutely. The book really shows how dedicated those women were. They put in so much effort, and with Wangari guiding them, sharing her knowledge, they ended up making a huge difference across Kenya. It just goes to show how much we can achieve when we work together.
And what I find really inspiring is that it wasn't just a case of Wangari helping the women. It was the women themselves taking charge, becoming leaders in their communities.
Right. That's a key message for all of us. Mama Miti shows how those women weren't just passive recipients. They were actively driving change, both for the environment and for their communities. It's a great reminder that leadership can come from anywhere, and anyone can make a difference.
So the book tells a really compelling story. Can you walk us through some of the key stages in Wangari's journey? How does the narrative unfold?
Sure. The story basically has a few main parts. It starts with what you could call a seed of an idea, which is all about Wangari's love of trees from her childhood. But then it contrasts that with the deforestation that happened later and all the hardship it caused. It sets up the problem that she felt she had to solve.
So we see the happy beginning and then the problem that sets everything in motion. What happens next?
Well, then we move into what the book calls planting hope, one tree at a time. This part focuses on Wangari's early actions. It starts small, with her just planting trees in her own backyard. But then she starts sharing her knowledge with the women in her community. She gives them seedlings and teaches them how to care for the trees.
That sharing of knowledge is so important, isn't it? It's what allowed the movement to grow.
Absolutely. She empowered them, gave them the tools and the understanding they needed, and then the story shifts to the movement grows. This is where the real magic happens. Word starts to spread about Wangari and the good things that are happening because of the trees. Women from all over Kenya join the movement, and you can actually see the land starting to recover. You can see the impact of their collective work. What's fascinating is that it wasn't just about planting trees, it was about creating a shared understanding, a sense of responsibility for the environment.
So it became a true grassroots movement built on shared knowledge and tangible results.
Exactly. And then the story touches upon challenges and recognition. The book doesn't go into too much detail about the pushback Wangari faced from certain authorities. It's aimed at a younger audience, so it keeps things positive. But it does acknowledge that she faced obstacles. But then, of course, she gets global recognition for her work, culminating in that Nobel Peace Prize, which is such a powerful symbol of her impact.
It really is an incredible journey, from those first few trees to international acclaim. And it brings us to the big ideas, the themes that Mama Miti explores. What are some of the key takeaways that resonate with you?
There are so many powerful themes in this book. One that really stands out is the importance of our planet. It shows us how crucial trees are, how vital nature is for us to survive. We need clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and natural resources. When deforestation happens, it affects everything. In Kenya, the soil erosion had a direct impact on their ability to grow food, which made the problem even more urgent. It's a reminder for all of us that we need to take care of our planet.
It's a lesson in environmental stewardship that applies to everyone, everywhere.
Absolutely. Another big theme is working together makes a difference. Wangari's vision wouldn't have become reality without the combined efforts of so many people. The book beautifully highlights the power of community and the Kenyan concept of Harambee, which is all about working together for the common good. In Kenya, it's not just an idea, it's a way of life. Communities come together, share their resources, and help each other. Wangari's movement tapped into that existing spirit, which made it even more successful. It shows what we can achieve when we work together toward a common goal.
It's about recognizing that shared responsibility, that sense of community. What other themes stand out to you?
One that's really inspiring is never underestimate one person. Wangari started small, right? Just a few trees. But look at what she accomplished. It's a message for all of us that we have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions might seem at first.
It's about individual agency, the power of one person to spark change.
Exactly. The book also highlights hope and perseverance. Even though she faced huge challenges, Wangari never gave up. She always had hope and she kept going, even when things were tough. That's a powerful message for all of us to never lose hope and to keep fighting for what we believe in.
And we've talked about how it wasn't just about the physical act of planting trees, but also about the knowledge that Wangari had and her willingness to share it.
Yes, the theme of wisdom and sharing is so important. Wangari knew a lot about trees and the environment, and she was eager to share that knowledge with others. She gave them seedlings, she taught them how to care for the trees, and that's what really made the movement take off. Without that sharing of knowledge, it wouldn't have been nearly as successful.
So we see how all these themes are connected, how they work together to tell Wangari Maathai's remarkable story. Now, for our listeners out there, if this story's inspired you, are there any other books or resources that you might find interesting?
Definitely. Mama Miti is a great introduction, but there are other books about Wangari Maathai that you might enjoy. Some of them are Wangari's Trees of Peace, Planting the Trees of Kenya, Dr. Wangari Maathai Plants a Forest, Seeds of Change, and even She Persisted, Wangari Maathai. So there are plenty of options if you want to learn more about her life and work.
And what about books about other inspiring women or stories set in Kenya or about African culture?
Oh, there are so many great ones. For stories about inspiring women who made a difference, you could check out Dear Malala, We Stand With You, which is about Malala Yousafzai's fight for education for girls. There's also I Am Amelia Earhart about the famous aviator, The Watcher, Jane Goodall's Life with the Chimps, and I Could Do That. Esther Morris Gets Women the Vote. They all show how one person can make a big impact. And if you're interested in learning more about Kenya and Africa, there are books like For You Are a Kenyan Child, Mama Panya's Pancakes, and Handa's Surprise. They offer beautiful glimpses into Kenyan culture and traditions.
That's great. It's so important to have access to these inspiring stories. Now let's talk about the author of Mama Miti, Donna Jo Napoli. What can you tell us about her?
Well, Donna Jo Napoli was born on February 28, 1948. And you might be surprised to learn that she's actually a linguist and a professor. Her background is in language. But she's also written so many books for children and young adults, covering all sorts of genres, fairy tales, historical fiction, mysteries. She's incredibly talented.
Wow, that's impressive. So what motivated her to write for a younger audience?
It seems that Donna Jo Napoli really believes that it's important for young people to learn about real-world issues, and she sees storytelling as a way to help them understand those issues and find hope.
That definitely aligns with the themes of Mama Miti.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about her personal interests that might connect with the book?
It's interesting because she said that she loves being in nature, working in her garden, and even baking. All of those activities have to do with growth, with nurturing, with creating something tangible. And that definitely resonates with the themes we see in Mama Miti. It's also worth mentioning that she's won numerous awards for her writing, which shows how much her work is appreciated and valued.
It sounds like she was the perfect person to write Wangari Maathai's story for young readers. So as we wrap up our deep dive, what would you say is the main takeaway from Mama Miti?
For me, Mama Miti is a beautiful example of how a simple idea, coupled with courage and action, can inspire an entire community and create real change in the world. It reminds us of how important it is to care for our planet and how powerful it can be when we work together.
It's a testament to the power of one person's vision and how that vision can spread and become a collective effort.
Absolutely. It encourages us to recognize that we all have the potential to make a difference, just like Mama Miti. Even small actions can have a big impact.
And we can't forget the amazing illustrations by Kadir Nelson. They really bring the story to life and capture the spirit of Kenya.
They're truly stunning. His artwork adds so much depth and emotion to the story, making it even more memorable.
So as we finish up this deep dive into Mama Miti, we're left with a powerful thought. It's not about making grand gestures, but about those small seeds of intention and action that we choose to plant.
Exactly. And as you reflect on Wangari Maathai's incredible legacy, ask yourself, what seeds of positive change can you nurture in your own community? What small action can you take that might blossom into something bigger, inspired by Mama Miti's incredible journey?
That's a perfect thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Mama Miti.
It's been a pleasure.